And what was the contest about?
Well, it was just, well, I think it was the story that John Barron had written. That was the contest.
A
But,
bridge to the past. So George, want to ask him some questions, and I'll
What are
keep
the
it
questions
rolling?
that you were asking?
I was just asking what the Good Old Days contest was about, and he just said it was.
So basically, yeah. So I guess what we're looking for is just some history about what you remember about Langdon and area. So like when did you grow up there?
well, I never lived in Langdon. I was northwest here, about halfway between here and Chestermere Lake.
Okay. Okay. Just on a farm out there.
Yes.
And so did your mom and dad move here, or your grandparents moved here? Or?
Yes, well, both actually. My father came here in 1909, and my mother's father came about the same time. And I doubt if they knew each other, but nonetheless, they did. And then, more than that, I mean, the land is still in our name or the family's name.
Is that right? Okay.
So down where my father's farm was, my son, my grandchildren, and great-grandchildren still live on the original quarter.
Oh, is that right? Eh?
Yes.
So, do you remember? So then, you went to school at the little school that we've seen before in the other pictures, like the.
Yeah, it was a Kent school, and it was moved down here. It's over on Robert Smart's property.
Oh yeah, the white one right behind
Yes.
us. Okay, yeah. Huh. And so then, when you came to, so what was Langdon like when you were young? So did you come to Langdon as a town, like you'd come shopping here, or where did you guys go? Because Chestermere wasn't there, I guess.
Oh no, there's nothing.
Chestermere's.
Well, I guess we had gone to Calgary more than Chestermere, but,
Yeah.
or Langdon, I mean.
Right.
But I mean, well, used to go to Langdon Saturday nights. It was when I was young. I mean, it was a big social event.
Oh, is that right? So what did you do Saturday nights?
Oh, just visit.
Okay.
Some of the others played cards. The men played cards, I guess.
And where would they gather?
Well, there was the pool room and a barber shop, and there was a room behind that where the card party.
Okay. So did like couples go, or was it just the men that would go?
Oh, it was the men.
Just the men on Saturday nights?
Yes, I guess it was against the law. I never heard of them being raided. But.
Right.
So what was happening in this picture?
Well, it's just a picture of the boys of that time, which were there with their cars or motorcycle, and
Comparing motors and
yes.
yeah.
So what? This guy's usually wearing a uniform. Tanner. Is that Tanner?
Well, it looks like I'm halfway dressed up, which is kind of different for me. But
Which one? So which one is you in there?
I'm in the
This is you.
yes with the motorcycle there.
Okay. What kind of motorbike did you have?
Oh, a Harley.
Oh, is that right?
I think it was an old army bike, which was converted.
So, but it looks like you're wearing some sort of official hat.
Well, it was a chauffeur's hat with a Harley pin on it.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yes.
So, did you ride your Harley all over the place, like back and forth to town and to?
Oh yes, we did for a while. In fact, Betty's brother and I made a trip to Spokane in 1949, and so that was quite a adventure at that time because they didn't have roads, of course.
Yeah. So, did you have a sidecar on your motorcycle?
No.
No, it's just a regular. Is that right? So, when did you quit riding?
Oh, I guess I was 20 probably.
Oh, okay. So you weren't a lifelong rider?
No, I no desire anymore because I just don't like cold.
Oh, yeah.
And the wife probably said, "Too dangerous," right?
Well, that's what my mother had told me.
Yeah, that's right.
And I did pilot up south of Langdon at one time. I hit a pig.
Oh, really?
no.
On your motorcycle?
Yes.
So would this be Main Street Langdon then?
Yeah, that's well, the smart store there.
Okay.
And we have a photograph of that.
That one, yeah.
That's Botsford and that's Caldwell's. There's the hall where we're sitting right now.
Right.
It's in 1930s.
So the one question that I have is the streets are very, very wide. The main street is very, very wide. And so my understanding historically why they built those streets as wide as they did was because when it would rain, because these are just dirt roads, right?
Yes.
Then you would switch. So you'd go down, traffic would be one part, and then once it get all rutted up, you'd move over a little bit.
Well,
Or how did it, why would it be so wide?
that sounds as logical as anything I can think
Oh, okay.
of. I guess when I was started school down here, that there wasn't many all-weather roads, but I think the one between here and the highway was graveled.
Okay. So was Main Street gravel then here?
I think so.
Oh, it wasn't dirt. It was gravel.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, there weren't very many others that were graveled at that time.
And so was Glenmore where it is? Was that?
Well, it was a road there, but it was just a district road. There was no special significance.
Right. But the Trans-Canada Highway was that was new. The Trans-Canada, number one highway?
Yeah, that was the number one highway.
It was still the number one highway.
It went to Strathmore, and I think it might have gone to Brooks, but I mean, there was nothing between there and Medicine Hat, and it was quite a few years later before they finally got it finished.
Oh, is that right?
And then our school that we were talking about, the old Kent School, about 1942 or 3, they closed it down because I guess there was a problem in getting teachers. Then they sent us to Langdon to the big 2-room school.
Oh, okay.
But of course, as I said, they never had roads or decent vehicles or anything.
So how did you get to school?
Well, they had, what they call a bus, but usually it was, an old car. Or,
And then they just pick you up at the farm or wherever and
yes,
bring you into school?
yes. And of course, they were subject to breakdowns and so on because the vehicles were old. And,
So do you remember anything about Weed Lake? Know anything about Weed Lake? About when they drained it and then when they filled it up again? Just here east of town?
yes. Well, I don't know whether they drained it or whether it dried up in dry years.
Right.
But I know on the other side they have a gate now that they can drain it or regulate the water from it.
Yeah.
But it's within the last few years where they have the sewage outlet that went into the lake. And then they also run water in from Western Irrigation District. So they can dilute it, I guess.
Yes, right. Now what about Dalemead Lake, south of town?
I don't
Where
know.
the Ducks Unlimited is, the Ducks Preserve is.
Yes, I don't know. I imagine it's filled by irrigation water too. I'm not sure.
Actually, yeah, I think it is. It's connected.
Just a little bit of history, so when I'm going through those pictures and
So tell me more about Langdon. So in that photograph, when you used to come to town, what was the population? So you knew all the guys in town because in that photograph you had like Dave Thompson and a bunch of other people. So is it because you guys all went to school together? Or just
Yes, I
because
think
you-
so.
Okay.
And then
We heard that Tom Kelly might be coming today.
of course, the ones in Calgary, I know several of them worked on the section, and they were well, Eastern Europeans, I guess.
Okay.
But, well, besides the Whitleys, of course, they were the original family, and most of the other families around have descended from them.
Yes.
And then, besides the railroad, there were some elevator agents of their families. So they were the big employers at that time, the railroad and the elevator.
Right. Well, we seen in that paper they were selling. They were hiring men, right, to still work on the railway and stuff.
Oh, yes.
This one is Whitney, but this is back in. So was Main Street very similar to this? I mean, this is an older picture. This looks like it's 1916. But do you remember any of the buildings and stuff like that? Does that look fair? I'm not sure. Like this is the Union Bank here, so I think probably further this towards us would have been Smart Store, or maybe this is Smart Store here.
Yes, it's that side of the road, and I think that was Cowan's store, but it was all gone when I can remember it.
Oh, right.
And this was, it was a bank. Well, it says the bank.
Yeah, Union Bank there, yeah.
But it was all converted to the Baptist church, and that's where we were married.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. And there's another building that looks like a machine agency. It says John Deere.
Okay. And so there was nothing to the north, because I'm looking just past town, past the main street, and there's nothing north. It was just all field.
I think that there was a store here, like it was old Marshall's Hardware, but after that it was Caldwell's Grocery.
Oh, okay.
And there wasn't, there might have been a small town office which was north here. I think it's in Heritage Park now. It's quite a small building.
Oh, is that right? And so actually, there's quite a few buildings that came from Langdon that went to Heritage Park.
Yes, Boxford's store is there. And, I don't know if there's any others besides.
Do you remember was the railway station still here when you were?
Yes, it was.
So the people used to catch the train still? Like you could still catch the train into Calgary?
Yes, I think in 1948 it was very wet, and most of the roads were washed out, but the train still went, and people went to Calgary for on the train and came out again. They'd walk home and they'd have sacks full of groceries they were carrying or supplies.
So how long would the train ride be from Calgary to Langdon?
Well, I doubt if they could make it in half an hour. They probably stopped in Shepherd, and they didn't travel very fast, I don't imagine.
Right. So, but I mean, it would be a day trip, so they'd go in the
Oh,
morning
yes,
and come back
yes,
at night?
I think so.
Oh, okay, so it's like a commute.
Of course, I'm not positive on that.
But where would they go? Where would that train land up in Calgary?
Well, CPR station downtown, I believe.
And then they would just shop locally downtown, get back on the train.
Yes.
Interesting. Huh. That's okay.
But the latest thing he did was last week.
So what was that picture of that
This one
house?
right here, yeah. So you are a witness? No,
No.
you're not a witness. So you have
My wife is a descendant Whitney.